Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education on Monday, October 8th. And I understand, Ms. Johnson, we have a guest to do the pledge this evening.
We do. Tonight we have Kyle and Julie Athey. They're in 5th and 1st grade, and this is our brother-sister team. Oh, I'm sorry, 2nd grade. 5th and 2nd grade. And they agreed to fill in for us at the last minute when we had one of our students call in sick tonight. So thank you, Kyle and Julie, and they are 2 of our student athletes, so they will be pledging for us tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Solstice, I believe we have some business partner signings this evening.
We do. We're very lucky to have some 4 business partners who would like to sign school business partnerships tonight. And I'm sure everybody came out to see those partners sign, so we're excited about that. First, we have representing Martin Delaney OLC, of course, is Thomas, the principal over there. They're going to be signed with T-Dogs Barbecue, who's represented by Mr. Trevor Littleton. So, Trevor.
Just brought samples for everyone.
Very excited to have him sign. I got to try some of T-Dog's Barbecue a couple weeks ago over at Marty Cable's a little shindig. It was very good. Smoked ribs. Very good.
Well, anyone that opens a restaurant in downtown Charlestown is near and dear to my heart.
Hey, I've ate his grandma's cooking. It's good.
Where's your location?
At 307 West Washington.
It's where Sugar Whips used to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we're very excited. Trevor's kind of like my second family. His sister-in-law is one of my best friends. So, and I've had his food for years, so I'm excited that he's opening a restaurant and he's agreed to work with us.
I have my sister-in-law working there too. So.
And right now you're currently open Saturdays?
Saturdays, and we're opening, this week we're starting lunch on Thursdays and Fridays from 11 to 2:30. So,
Good
slowly
luck.
rolling it out.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to sign 2 business partners with South Jefferson Elementary School. Representing South Jefferson, of course, the principal, Carrie Mahoney, so you want to have a seat up here. We'll go ahead and start with Jefferson Asphalt first. Mr. Mike Thomas is here to represent Jefferson Asphalt. I know they've been a fixture in the community for many years, so we're excited to have them partnering up with South Jefferson.
And I didn't bring samples, but
I see your work
I can in future.
You can leave those in the parking lot.
Yes, speaking of which, they did help me a lot with the parking lot this summer. Came in and did an emergency fix for me. I was very, very appreciative of that. We go way back. I had their oldest son as a teacher at South Jefferson, so we're really happy to have them with us. So, good times, full circle, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you.
All right.
I go way back. I go way back with them too. I actually had them in school at Musselman High School a long time ago. Both of them, Marcy and him.
We
Yeah.
upset Mr. Soltis one day.
Yeah. All this gray hair is because of him.
We took his little MG midget and put it under the bleachers.
They did.
Upset him.
At football practice one day, we came back from practice and my car was gone. They picked it up and moved it.
He didn't have much of a sense of humor about that. Yeah, we laughed now.
No. Our second partner with South Jefferson is going to be the Bennett Agency. Representing Bennett Agency is going to be Kaylin Varney. Kaylin here? Okay.
Hello.
also these are parents from South Jefferson Elementary as well, so it's nice to have them on board as well.
And not to downplay insurance either, but insurance is just as important as barbecue and asphalt.
And we are going to try to become the past volunteers, participate in teacher appreciation, fundraising efforts, and then anything else that we can do. Okay? Thank you.
And our fourth partnership tonight is going to be between Shepherdstown Elementary School. Scott Jacobson's here for Shepherdstown Elementary. They're going to be signing with Lowe's Real Estate Group, represented tonight by Mr. Andrew Lowe. Of course, you know, the Lowe's have been very involved in many activities in town, in our community in the past.
It was nice. Trip Lowe actually called me. He had called Marty about contacting me, and I picked up the phone, and we had a nice discussion, and we both agreed it would be a good relationship for longstanding community members and small business owners actually throughout the entire area. So it's a perfect fit.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And Andrews School Systems can always use the land too. So we'll get the land to have the barbecue picnic, get the insurance to cover the event, and asphalt the parking lot so people can park.
Sounds perfect to me.
Wonderful scenario.
Let us know how we can help.
And I guess you got Lowe's have been in the school system many years. All your family went through the school system, so
Correct.
yeah, it's nice to have them.
We're proud products of the Jefferson County school system.
Well, it's really nice to see the products of Jefferson County School System turning around and giving back to the system. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll head across the hall.
I completely understand.
I'm only here for a little bit. I'm only here for a half hour, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Hello again. I've checked the hallway. We're good to go this time. A couple weeks ago, I was trying to present our first Spirit Award of the school year. So this is now going to be a presentation for September's Spirit of Jefferson Award, as well as a bit of an apology from me. I called everybody, talked to Janet, got everything arranged, and then forgot to actually contact the recipients to come. So my apologies to them and the board for the initial road bumps, but I think we're good to go tonight. We have two Spirit of Jefferson Award winners to recognize, and the Spirit of Jefferson Award is really all about somebody in our school system who makes a very positive difference for their coworkers, for the students, and just brightens their school in general. And the first one will go to Beth Saunders. Beth, come up. Don Tyler's going to say a few words.
So, Mrs. Saunders has been a teacher in Jefferson County Schools for 16 years. And I have known Beth for a very, very long time. I'm the one who nominated her for this award. It goes above and beyond. We have several colleagues here tonight. Some of her students came in, saw everybody and said, no, I'm not having this, and went out in the hall. And I'm sure many, many more would have come. We've had a stomach bug hit T.A. Lowry Elementary, so many of them are suffering. But Beth goes above and beyond, and always had. And I said to her earlier, her spirit and her sense of children and students first has never wavered from the very first day I met her. She's very nervous here. She likes to fly under the radar, and we appreciate everything that she does. Every day I can say, if I need something, I can turn to Beth and say, can you help me problem solve this? And she will. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Right here?
Perfect. All right. One more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And our second award this evening goes to Sharon Stewart. And she is from Wildwood Middle School. Pat Brockway, principal, is here to say a few words.
Only a few. Sharon Stewart is one of these remarkable employees that we have in Jefferson County that brings an incredible force of energy. She is so creative. She started years and years ago because of her children. And she's had many experiences with numerous schools, and I am just lucky that she happens to be who I call my secretary. But she's a whole lot more to our school. She's a sounding board for our parents. She helps the transition. She helps the parents become comfortable with middle school because that can be such a trying time for them. She counsels the teachers. She counsels anyone who needs help. When school opens, she can be found there till midnight and after till the job gets done. That is one of her major blessings and curses. And I cannot say enough wonderful things about Sharon Stewart. She's one of our gold mines that we possess here in Jefferson County. I am very, very proud of her. Louise McDonald is one of our all-star teachers, and she is the person that thought enough to do the paperwork for the Spirit of Jefferson. So I'd like her to share a few words about Sharon.
Well, I'll tell you what, anyone who's worked in an organization knows that secretaries run the world. And they can spread their power for joy and light, or they could not. And Sharon always spreads joy and light into all the fine little corners that need some light. And she's really a pleasure and a strength to all of us at Wildwood. So thank you for...
Thank you, Sharon.
I have to do that. Thank you.
Wonderful as a parent.
One, two, three. One more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Superintendent, do you have any comments? Would you like to mention that there's an update on the website, perhaps?
Apparently, yes, ma'am. It might be of interest to the citizens here tonight making public comment that we have received your numerous emails, which we do our best to respond to in a public forum. So for those of you who have not yet, we regularly post under our Parents Rockwool information site FAQs, here's where we're at in the process, and provide updates. So please check that as frequently as possible so that you can get information about where we are in the process of things so that there's no confusion. We're attempting to be as transparent as possible, regardless of the speed at which things are able to progress for a whole host of reasons. So,
thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting held September 24th?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Citizens' comments. Once again, I'll just remind you that you are limited to a 3-minute time period. Ms. Ogden is not here. Ms. Roper, would you be able to keep time for us, please? And so after 3 minutes, we'll have to, unfortunately, rudely cut you off. We don't mean to, but that's just the way that it works. And if you could please just keep your words as kind as they have been, we appreciate that. First up is Miss Sharon Wilt, and after her is Tracy Cannon.
I was on the bottom of the pile. They must have turned it over.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
That's okay.
reading from the order that I got them.
That's quite all right. You're good, Sharon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, board members. It's been a month now since I was last here, and at that meeting, Ms. Skinner asked Rockwell to stop with construction until an independent study could be done. Rockwell said no to the same request 3 times. 4? I stand corrected. So Rockwell has thrown down the gauntlet. Nick Deal, Executive Director of the JCDA, has added that having an air monitor could be a learning experience for the elementary school students. It's 1.5 miles or so, and I'm quoting from him. From the school, Deal says, I think Rockwell has addressed an offer to put in an air monitoring. It's a great learning experience for the kids, too, to see what's going on with the air quality and be able to monitor at school. So my questions are, so what school gets the air monitoring station? Will other students be bussed in for their lessons on air monitoring and given a coloring page that yellow is good air and go up the coloring chart, the code red is bad? Second one, right after that lesson on air, let's educate our children on the site location across the street from North Jefferson Elementary School. That is a documented site of hot spots for sinkholes. How do you explain to an elementary school student that the ground could open up and a large hole could swallow up their school, their home, or the roads they travel on to get to school? Let the nightmares begin. While watching the news, WDVM, an ad appears for Jefferson High School's football team. It's being sponsored by Rockwell. Did the school board know this? Did they approve this? It's plain as day. And it's like, we're pushing our luck with this mess. Luck is for amateurs, and you all are professionals. Holding the future of our youth in your hands, we have to rely on your strength to take control of what is ours. Promises unfulfilled are untruths. Too many untruths have created a feeling of distrust and dissatisfaction. The bully threats of a $100 million lawsuit is laughable. It's our state, our country, our jury of peers. Pick up the gauntlet and pull out of the pilot agreement. Protect our children. Please. Thank you.
And after Tracy, we have Dana Anders.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to address you this evening. The Rockwell facility requires natural gas for part of their process. The Eastern Panhandle expansion pipeline was conceived of about 4 years ago with industries like Rockwell in mind. The proposed pipeline would be about 1,000 feet from North Jefferson Elementary. The blast radius for an explosion of that pipeline would be about 150 feet at the pressure of 475 pounds per square inch. So an explosion event would probably not be deadly for the students of North Jefferson Elementary, but it would be extremely frightening for them. 2 pipeline explosions occurred this summer on very new pipelines. A 6-month-old pipeline exploded in Marshall County, West Virginia on June 7th. And a pipeline that was less than a month old exploded on September 10th in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. Heavy rains and land subsidence were stated as the causes of these explosions. Sinkholes that exist in abundance in Jefferson County increase the risk for land subsidence. The pipeline would be buried about 3 feet underground. If a sinkhole opened up under the pipeline would lose support from below. And the 2 sections of pipeline could start to sag. If the pipeline sagged, then the weld could fail and the two ends of the pipes rubbing together could cause a spark, and in the presence of gas, an explosion could occur. If rock wool and the pipeline end up being built, that would be a friendly invitation for other heavy industry to come to the land that used to be Jefferson Orchards. Especially if the pipeline and the sewer line and the water line are all built, this corner of Jefferson County would no longer be rural farmland. It would be a lot closer to the Chemical Valley along the Kanawha River in Charlestown, where childhood cancer happens at an alarming rate. I call on the Board of Education to do everything within its power to stop the industrialization of this county for the health and safety of our children. Thank you.
Hello, good evening.
After Dana, we have Lori Maloney.
I thought Lori Ogden would be here, so I was kind of referencing one of her quotes, and it wasn't Rockwool's fault. It wasn't our fault. It was frankly a hodgepodge of horrible PR. We're on the precipice of accepting industrialization or not. Because of that, if the door opens to Rockwool, who's next to come here, and the next, and the next? Well, Thursday night, we found out at the Ranson Civic Center who is next. TEMA. TEMA's here. They're ready to be up and running. They're just waiting on an air quality permit, which we were told by DEP that it must be issued to them. Comments made regarding the total air quality after these three that I know of, manufacturing plants, and any others that will be built or addressed, the air quality after individual permits, their individual permits, I believe, regarding air quality have been issued. Also, noise, truck traffic, and surrounding air smell have been addressed. I know there are people that are pro-Rockwool. I used to work in industry. I understand industry. I understand there should be an environmental impact statement. You're entitled to your personal opinion of Rockwool's presence, but while you're here tonight and we're elected to serve Jefferson County, your duty of care is to the students, the parents, and the community of Jefferson County. And we have a duty of reasonable care, and that states that the degree of care that any reasonable, prudent person would use in a similar situation. Would any reasonable, prudent person build a factory across from an existing school or within a few miles of other schools? I've attended many meetings. I haven't seen a lot of people there to gather information. I might have overlooked some people. I have seen a lot of the people in this room. I just don't think we should accept someone's word that industry is a great idea for Jefferson County. As Laurie says, if we open the door to Rockwool, who will come next?
And after Lori, we have Nancy Gregory.
Thank you, and thank you for letting us speak tonight. I am with Jefferson County Vision, and we really hope tonight, we truly hope that you will announce some progress on a health and safety study for the students of our county. And if you do this, we implore you that it should be independent, transparent, include multiple parent and teacher representatives in a steering committee. And that steering committee should decide the research company, not Rockwool. It needs to include an impact of the air pollutants, such as particulate matters, VOCs, and ozone on children, especially those who are more sensitive because they are susceptible to respiratory illness. We hope that you will, we say that this study should include impacts of trucking, and also, particularly for North Jefferson Elementary School, impacts of noise. And quoting from Rockwool's PR documents themselves, it is no surprise that studies consistently show that quieter classrooms achieve better results. As well as impairing students' reading, comprehension, and verbal interaction, excessive noise will also compromise behavior, attention spans, and stress levels. Rockwell makes acoustic tiles, and I hope that one of the outcomes of this study will not be a recommendation that Rockwell fund acoustic tiles for North Jefferson Elementary School. I also hope that one of the recommendations from Rockwell is not that they are going to pay to move North Jefferson Elementary School, because that is not a long-term solution for the rest of the schools in this county and not appropriate. Finally, I hope you see how absurd it is that we are having this discussion. Help us end this battle so that we can focus on fixing issues that already occur instead of trying to thwart issues that might happen as a result of something that all of you in this room have a capability of preventing. So please, keep Rockwell out of Jefferson County. Thank you.
And after Nancy Gregory, we have Emma. Nancy Gregory, yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to write my thing here. Okay, hi everybody. Does Lori Ogden, she's not on speakerphone or anything?
She is attending her grandmother's funeral today.
I'm sorry about that. Is she required to read this? Because I know that she's softened on Rockwell, so.
She is not required to read this, however, I'm assuming that she would watch this when it comes online tomorrow, so I'm sure that she'll hear whatever comments you have.
Okay. So, we know that Rockwell invaded Jefferson County under a veil of deceit with the help of some state and local officials who are unethical and dishonest at best and corrupt at worst. We know that West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection has dangerously lax standards and cares more about corporations and lining the pockets of corrupt politicians and their buddies than the people who live here. We know, and in communities, we know that this heavy industry is unprecedented in this county and should have been required at minimum to have environmental and economic impact studies. We know that Rockwell goes into economically stressed areas with sweet tax deals and cares nothing about the communities that they pollute. I don't think that they expected Jefferson County, West Virginia, to be filled with scientists, public policymakers, engineers, environmental activists, government employees, doctors and other health professionals, business people, researchers, attorneys, and people from every walk of life, religion, political party, economic status, who are willing to put their lives on hold to fight this Goliath. Now the representatives of Rockwell are trying to get people's trust. Never happened, too late. I know of a meeting that's supposed to come this week, and it's trying to get some ideas on how to soften the community. Forget it. What happened to our North Point Station plan with light industry, with the creation of thousands of jobs, green space, and a MARC train stop? Business as usual in West Virginia. We must be solution-oriented. We requested of the Board of Education to get independent health risk assessment regarding our children. What is the status of that? We recommended that the Board of Education get independent legal counsel. What is the situation with that? Who is your legal counsel? We need the people who helped us get into this mess, although some unknowingly, like yourselves, to get us out of it. What is the situation with the pilot agreement? Does it expire at a certain time? And then what happens? This is a defining moment for Jefferson County. We have so much to lose. We all know how amazing our county is. And I won't even list all of the assets. Someone in Flint, Michigan made the decision to divert water that resulted in poisoning thousands of people with lead. If we don't stop Rockwell, we risk getting a second Rockwell, a plastic extrusion plant, which we might have anyway, and a line of heavy industry. We risk turning us into another Flint, Michigan, and Love Canal. It must be stopped. The attorneys for Jefferson County Vision said that the Rockwell threat of a lawsuit is just that. So all of our officials, the people are doing what we can do, and all of our officials need to do whatever it takes to stop this from being here. Thank you.
And after Emma, we have Ruth Hatcher.
Good evening. Thank you for being here and listening to us tonight. As an early childhood educator, I'm a huge proponent of meaningful, hands-on learning that's linked to real-world experiences. That being said, I just about fell over when I read a statement from the JCDA's executive director, Nick Deal, in the Charleston Gazette-Mail over the weekend. As Sharon mentioned, when asked about Rockwell's close proximity to North Jefferson Elementary School, Deal responded, "It's a great learning experience for the kids to see what's going on with air quality and be able to monitor at the school." My mind is truly boggled that someone would try to spin the idiotic decision to build a high-polluting factory next to an elementary school in this way. When children start suffering from asthma at increased rates, are we going to tell their families not to worry? It's okay, because they're getting the wonderful opportunity to learn about hospitals firsthand. It is abundantly clear that the JCDA is not looking out for the health and welfare of Jefferson County students. And you know what? That's not their job, but it is yours. You all have stood before us and made strong statements about your concerns. You've made promises about the actions you will take. But so far, all we've gotten is words. I'm hoping that there's been a heck of a lot of action behind the scenes backing those words up, but I don't know. That's why I'm here tonight, to let you know that we're still watching, that we are still counting on you to do your jobs, and that we'll keep showing up and demanding action until we see real results. Thank you.
And after Ruth, we have Roger Sneeman.
Good evening, board members, and good evening, friends that are watching, and hello, Gary Cartwright of EU News. The biggest ethical implication of businesses polluting is the devaluing of human life for profit and self-interest. Poverty plus poor education equals pollution. Our elected officials, West Virginia Governor, the DEP, the JCC, the Ransom Council, and Rockwell are unethical by exploiting, polluting, devaluing the most vulnerable of our community by selecting a site across the street from North Jefferson Elementary and in close proximity to other schools. If a new school isn't allowed to be built across the street from Rockwell, why are North Jefferson students and staff being devalued? One has to wonder, is it because of their low ranking? According to SchoolDigger.com 2017 data, North Jefferson Elementary ranks 338th out of 399 West Virginia elementary schools. And T.A. Lowry ranks 340th. North Jefferson ranked worse than 84.7% of West Virginia elementary schools, and T.A. Lowry ranked worse than 85.2%. Are they the sacrifice zone? See, someone's going to get sacrificed. The pollution that goes up is going to come down, and it's going to come down on someone more than it is others. And they're the closest. And I don't know about you guys, but have you ever seen a plume when it rains, which I doubt you have not? I have seen a plume when it's raining, and it curled my stomach. It goes sideways like this, and then it's like a big fog all over the ground like this. And when I saw it a couple weeks ago, it made me literally sick, because those emissions that are going up, they're not always going to go up. And the rain, and we've had an awful lot of rain this year, haven't we? And when it snows, guess where those emissions are going to fall? You don't have any control over those emissions coming out of that stack, do you? Does Rockwell have control over those emissions? No, Mother Nature has control over those emissions. So someone's going to get more particulate matter and chemicals than someone else. That's just a fact. So who's going to get that? Probably those people. These poor children are going to get hammered along with the residents. That's a fact. So where's the map from Rockwell showing how this matter is going to fall? Because they told the racetrack it wouldn't get there. They told Loudoun County it wouldn't get there. So that means we're going to get it right here. So we're going to get the worst health effects. So if a new school isn't allowed to be, okay, I did that, sorry. I ultimately believe that the board's job is to do everything in its power to prevent the building of Rockwell. Allowing environmental pollutants so close to our students is at direct odds with the excellence in teaching and learning. Who is ultimately going to be accountable for the lifelong effects on our children and citizens? It is criminal and unethical.
I'm sorry. And after Roger, we have Emily Dragon, or, yes.
Yeah. Good evening, I'm Roger Snaman. I've addressed you all, I think, twice before. I didn't address you last couple of weeks, and I wanted to just throw out some, I guess, random thoughts, random ideas that I've written down and thought about for the last few days. I'm pretty active on the Facebook site, and maybe some of these are repeats, but first off, I want to thank you for your patience tonight. I don't think you were expecting a group like this to come. I think we're here because there's a perception that our group's lost its mojo, that we don't have what we need to have to stop this plant. Don't believe that. We have many people here. We're almost 12,000 strong. I think there's a force out there in the community trying to split us, trying to devalue us, as the one lady said, trying to devalue us as a group of concerned citizens, throwing politics in it and all the rest of the ugliness that goes on behind the scenes. Initially, we were very loud, very strong, very out there. We had a year to catch up. The other group had a year ahead of us. They had the politicians on their side. They had everything in there going their way, and we felt that we needed to counter that one-sided message. I think that you'll find that a lot of our actions these days are more strategic, more powerful in their results. One I wanted to point out to you, and it's been mentioned a couple times earlier, was that the attorney for Jefferson County Vision, or for the Concerned Citizens Group, has reviewed the Rockwool project, or I'm sorry, the pilot agreement, and feels there's some holes in that. I believe there is too. It's something like that written on a napkin just really can't be that that strong of a thing. I would ask that the superintendent or a member of the board perhaps allow either the attorneys or one of our leaders to tell you what wrong word, to tell you what the lawyers have said. So I wanted to just mention one thing, and I'm sort of mocking Nick Deal tonight with his comment about the weather station, but we also, in a very jokingly and horrible way, will have a large need for respiratory therapists. With all this particulate matter in the air and in that areas, we really need to think about that as perhaps as a vocational course or something like that on the high school level. And my last comment is the Jefferson County Commission has passed on their what do I want to call it, their responsibility to their constituents. They're refusing to take this any further than just accepting what's been handed to them. I implore this board that represents the students of the county to take a little bit further and allow us to help you with anything we can provide, any help available. Thank you.
And after Emily, we have Mary Ann.
Hi, my name's Emily Dragon. I have a whole speech here about how concerned I am about the air pollution, but I'm sure you guys have heard it before. I'll give you the paper afterwards. I won't waste your time with that. I'm pretty sure I've emailed half of this to you, but I just wanted to highlight something that's been giving me nightmares, honest to goodness. And I hope you guys already know about this, but I'm worried that you don't. On the Facebook group, someone has been in contact with a woman named Libby from Wales, and Libby has been, she lives across the street from a Rockwool facility. It has been around for 40 years, but it was recently upgraded to the latest technology in 2008. She said she frequently experiences something called a tuft fall, where small pieces of rock will litter the land surrounding the factory. She has images of tufts from sitting on her car. Here's a direct quote from her. "A tuft is a lump of rock wool, usually around ½ an inch or just over a centimeter square-ish. Years ago, we had frequent tuft falls that looked just like snowfalls. This is not so frequent now, but still happens occasionally. The trouble is, most of us on the street are out working during the day, so we don't notice. Also, it's a very wet place, lots of rain. So for about half the year, at least, The tufts fall onto wet surfaces and disappear, rather like tissue or cotton wool. You can usually spot them on cars, children's garden toys, etc., but not usually on the soil. Also, our houses cover a very small area. They probably blow somewhere else a lot of the time. Barely a week goes by when my neighbor, who is home more than I am, doesn't collect some tufts, e.g. when she's walking the dog. But the last big-ish fall we had this year was in April, when I spotted them all over the cars when I went out in the morning. These tufts escape if a filter breaks, or simply if they haven't been keeping areas of the factory clean. It just blows around. Once they discovered there were large quantities collecting on their roof, blowing off when it got breezy. When we report this to the factory, they sometimes send someone over to take a look. They want to track down where it's come from by checking whether or not it's been cured. That's when they add the phenol formaldehyde binder at a high temperature. Sometimes they can tell, but usually they just shrug. That's the quote. This data has been requested by speaking with a person who resided near the factory. It wasn't available in Google searches, and it wasn't in newspapers, so I don't know if it happens in the new factories. Do we know that it won't happen here? Can it happen here? I know Rockwell said that it shouldn't happen here. But can Rockwell absolutely guarantee in a legally binding way that we will never have to worry about tuft fall? Because if this factory's built and there's nothing legally binding to protect my child from the possibility of unknowingly playing in a schoolyard that's dusted in insulation, from picking it up and blowing it around like a dandelion, or rolling around in the grass that has insulation in it, then that's a huge health problem, and it's your problem. So thank you so much.
And after Marianne, we have David Tabb.
Good evening. Once again, we are all back here today to beg you to take a harder, tougher stand than what you appear to be taking to protect the children of Jefferson County. Words are not enough. Polite requests to Rockwell to go ignored are not enough. I'm finding that my own polite request to some of our own leadership has not been enough. It kind of disgusts me to be here and at numerous other meetings time and time again to beg our leaders to do what they should have the gumption and the courage to do on their own. It is nothing short of shameful. That's the word that I would use to describe this process as of late, shameful. I myself have written to all of you on 2 occasions and have gotten no response from anyone here. So I'm going to ask again here today in a public forum what exactly the status is of the human health risk assessment, what scientific information is being gathered, who will do the gathering of the information, how will it be presented to the public. I would like to know, have you requested, as you can, the SDS for all the materials that will be traveling our roads and stored on site at Rockwell? Have you retained outside legal counsel, and what is the status of you pulling out of the pilot agreement? Have you requested that Mr. Cable here be given voting rights in the JCDA? I know that he currently doesn't have those rights, and I think you'd want those rights for him. Of all the entities that have been party to this mistake, it is the school district and the BOE that should be fighting the hardest to rectify it. You should be the ones fighting tooth and nail to stop Rockwell from setting up a heavy industrial factory just feet from our school children. As much as many of us have qualms with some of the other leaders and organizations that have had a hand in this, it is you that we expect to be standing up for the health and the well-being of our children, and we're just not sure where you are at this point. Perhaps, Dr. Gibson, when you met previously with Rockwell executives, you were sold what you thought would maybe be a real feather in the district's cap. Having purchased land only miles from where Rockwell intends to set up shop, you might have been told how great it would be that a water and sewer line would be in the works for the new campus to tap into. Maybe you were even told that the district would one day be able to profit from the other entities that would tap into that line as well. Maybe then it all sounded so great. Well, you know more now, and we all know more now. And believe me, for all the good that you have done since coming to our county as superintendent, and I truly believe that you've done a lot of good, that isn't going to be what you will be remembered for. Should this move forward, it will be known that it was under your term as superintendent that hundreds of thousands of pounds of pollution spewed forward into the lungs of vulnerable children. It will be under your term as superintendent that 75 to 100 heavy trucks travel next to our school buses and carpools carrying who knows what on a daily basis. It will be under your term as superintendent that 6 suspected carcinogens spewed daily from a factory that you thought would be okay to put close to 30% of our school children. And members of the BOE, this will not all be on Dr. Gibson. Your names will be remembered as well. Shame on all of us for not doing the right thing and taking notice previously. Shame on those government leaders right now that are saying what they need to say to appease the public in a public setting and not doing much behind the scenes. Shame on all of us if we trade water for air. I've lost a lot of respect for so many individuals and our county leadership over the past few months, and it appears that they are continuing to do what they feel like doing with no regard for what we've begged you to do. And it's a disgrace, and it won't soon be forgotten. And I feel like I don't want that to be you. I want you guys to step up and fight for our children the same way that we're all stepping up and continuing to go to meetings. We'd like to see some of you at some of these meetings if you truly want to step up and help us. Thank you. Thank you.
And after David, we have Clay Anders.
Good evening. David Tabb, Jefferson County resident. I bring you greetings from the east. Most people want to go to the west. I went to the east last week, to the to the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, and was with open arms welcomed. Even to the point after I got done speaking and answered 9 questions from an EPA director from Philadelphia Region 3, the supervisor said for their county administrator, make sure you get Mr. Tabb's information. I think we need it. And they've already reached out. They've already made an agreement, and very quickly that same night, to look into air monitor systems. It will be constructed. The only thing is now, does Loudoun County pay for it, or does the government? I have here tonight several different air monitor systems that are available immediately at a cost of around $15,000. They're portable. I've actually considered on buying one myself, because I need borderline information, or at least when it is right now. Because whatever the air is right now, and it changes, guess what? I can do something about it. Even to the point that the EPA, the fellow that was there at the meeting at Loudoun County, I have a message to his boss that the guy was very concerned when I showed up. I announced myself after his very intense ordeal. And I showed him the paperwork that I used to get a stop work order. It's very magic words. And he was concerned how I had that information. I got it from his desk. It's very simple. It's called a FOIA from the governor, and I'm the only person that has it. This is very interesting. You need to get it yourself. Find out. Or sign all of us up for all the schools with a certificate that we're going to help you. You just had some really nice people here that signed up. We'll help you with all the schools, not just one. I was also asked about how the land was sold and who owns it by some people. It hadn't been deeded yet, so you don't know. $150 million project for 150 jobs. That's $1 million a person. Imagine that. It's really sad when you say it fast enough, I guess. Accumulation. And maybe we can stop paying our taxes for a while until y'all make a decision.
And after Clay, we have Mariel and Ross.
Well, good evening, guys. My name is Clay Anders. I grew up in Shenandoah Junction, and I teach in Jefferson County now. I've taught at Shipley for 11 years, and in fact, Mr. Osborne was my first principal that I worked for. And I'm up here to talk about Rockwell, of course, and I did attend North Jefferson Elementary as a small child, and I had childhood asthma. And I think back, and I'm wondering, what would my mother and father have thought of me going to a school directly across the street from a smokestack that was spewing out the second leading amount of toxins in the whole state of West Virginia? How would they have felt about us living within 2 miles of that plant? I can answer that question. They would have pulled me out of that school. They would have uprooted my sister and I and taken us somewhere further away from that plant. And this is the dilemma that some of our families are going to face if this plant comes in. Wait till you guys start getting phone calls. I don't want my child attending North Jefferson. I don't want my child attending T.A. Lowry. Fix this. They're too close to the Rockwool plant. That is going to be a can of worms. And because of this pilot agreement, we're actually subsidizing this. The amount that they're paying, and some people have touched on it on other meetings, is actually, in some people's opinions, going to cost Jefferson County money for that first 10 years. It might hurt our budget, according to some politicians. And I'm all for more jobs. I'm all for expanding our tax base, but at what cost? Is sprinkling our children with formaldehyde and particulate matter worth it? I don't think it's worth it. A lot of the parents in this community don't think it's worth it. And a lot of teachers in this community do not think it's worth it. I'm just asking you guys, if that's the cost of doing business, do we want to do business with these people? Please say no to Rockwool, say no to this pilot agreement. Just oppose this, because a majority of the community does. All right, thank you guys.
And after Mary Ellen, we have Christina Stork.
Hi, and thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of you again. And the reason I decided to speak again tonight was because I wasn't too sure if you were all listening to us a month ago when we thought we would see some action coming from the Board of Education after we spoke at several earlier board meetings. And I'm sure that the others here expected to hear the board here come out with some sort of statement concerning the heavy industry so close to our schools and that legal counsel had been retained. As of this morning, I have heard nothing on either of these topics, and I hope you'll forgive me if my knowledge is wrong on that. When these fine people here and many others in the CAR Facebook group found out about the Rockwool plant and what it meant to Jefferson County and the surrounding areas, we got motivated real quick, and we had found out a lot of information. And we brought that information to you and the other elected and selected boards, committees, and councils. So much of this information should have been discovered and looked at by all of those that signed the pilot agreement before they signed it, but evidently no one did. And we, Jefferson County citizens, still don't see much activity occurring at these board, committees, and councils that we are urging to act on our behalf and fight with us to get this heavy polluting industry out of our county. So tonight I want to remind you, the Jefferson County Board of Education, of some of the code of ethics that you had sworn to uphold for us as a member of the Board of Education. I found these statements on your website last night, and I'm only reading a few of those that I believe are applicable to this issue, but the other statements I'm leaving out would not have reduced the importance of these. First and foremost, members are expected to strive to improve the quality and effectiveness of public education, and to that end should recognize that members should endeavor to make policy decisions only after full discussion at publicly held board meetings, rendered all decisions based on the available facts and independent judgment, and refuse to surrender that judgment to individuals or special interest groups. Encourage the free expression of opinion by all board members and seek systematic communications between the board and students, staff, and all elements of the community. And lastly, remember that the first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of the student attending these public schools. Anyway, so we, the parents and Jefferson County residents, would like to know what progress is being made on these issues. Thank you.
And after Christina, we have Will Sutherland.
Hi, my name is Christina Stork, and I'm here with my husband, Paul. The reason we stand before you tonight is because we are concerned for the health and safety of our children from an uninformed decision that was made by the BOE. We have a daughter who attends Jefferson High. Our son is in kindergarten at North Jefferson Elementary, and in 2020, our youngest son will be starting pre-K at North Jefferson Elementary. The reason we say would be starting pre-K is because if this facility is built, our boys will not be attending your schools. Our daughter will let her finish her senior year because it's not fair to her to have her start all over again. That's one of my main issues, but my other issues are emails. So on August 28th, after learning about the BOE, that you guys had signed off on a pilot agreement regarding Rockwell without any due diligence, we emailed questions regarding the signing to Ms. Skinner, Mr. Osborne, Mr. Cable, Ms. Ogden, and Ms. Roper. Out of the 5 emails that we sent, only 2 of you responded. One was from Ms. Roper clarifying that she was not on the BOE when the pilot was signed, and the other was a phone call from Ms. Skinner. As for the rest of you, your lack of response was highly disappointing. And on September 24, 2018, we emailed a multi-part question regarding the safety of North Jefferson Elementary School to the superintendent, Dr. Gibson. The multi-part question was this: what is going to be North Jefferson's response when Rockwell has an industrial accident such as a chemical leak? Have you given any thought about how you are going to lock down and seal the school when the chemical leak occurs? Have you begun coordinating with local authorities and emergency responders to set up evacuation plans? Where will you evacuate to? And how will you spread the information to parents? Do you have the ability to distribute this information to every parent whose child will be in the potential danger zone? And how often will the children have to conduct seal-in and evacuation drills? When Dr. Gibson responded to our email, she did not answer any of our questions, but instead deflected to information provided by Rockwell, posted on the Jefferson County BOE website. I would also like to note that there was no information from resources such as the American Lung Association, the World Health Organization, or even UNICEF about the damaging effects pollution from facilities like these pose to the growing children. Just information from Rockwell, with studies done by people employed by Rockwell, promising that their pollution won't make anyone sick. And despite our follow-up on attempt to gain insight into how the school will respond to an eventual emergency, we still do not have a clear picture of what you are going to do to protect our children. So tonight, we want to make sure you understand that we want these questions answered. You, Dr. Gibson, and the rest of the Board of Ed members are solely responsible for the safety of our children while they're attending your schools, not Rockwell. These are concerns that you need to address. This is not a want or a desire. We need to know the specific steps that you will have in place for the safety of every child that attends North Jefferson Elementary and all the surrounding schools. Our children are our life. They're our future. We are here to love them unconditionally, to provide for them, and to protect for them, which is something you failed to do when you signed the pilot agreement. In my eyes, you have failed our children and are responsible for the negligence as the JCC and the JCDA. And I believe that you should all be removed from the positions that you hold and replaced with members that will have our children's best intentions at heart.
And after Will, we have Joseph Bocciero.
Thank you all for allowing me to speak again. I'm Will Sutherland, lifelong resident, minus 4 years at Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia. I come here not as a Republican or a Democrat or a candidate. I'm not being paid. In fact, I've taken a lot of time off work and donated as much as I can to the legal fight. What I come here as a tax-paying, small business-owning citizen whose family home is within a mile of the proposed Rockwell factory. I'm concerned about the unacceptable increase in pollution. I remember the difference in air quality between my home and Cabell County, where I attended college. I felt healthier here. I moved back here for this area, just because it's beautiful. It's wilder than Cabell County. It's not developed in a way that makes me breathe differently. That climate made me appreciate this county, and I do not want to leave this county. I decided to look into the data for air quality in Huntington and Cabell County, and the EPA toxins release inventory for Cabell has 73,000 pounds of hazardous air pollution a year. Jefferson County is 18 pounds In Marshall County, where Rockwell is located, the total is 428,000 pounds. In 2014, before Rockwell was there, 82,000 pounds. I'm no mathematician, but that's pretty obvious. I can't allow this to be built by our home. I can't believe we are here having to fight this, and I can't believe anyone is in support of it. And even if we try to sell our property, it will absolutely affect our property value now. So what can I do? What can our family do? Can we get away? We're going to lose money. Do we stay and just risk our children's health, our own quality of life? You can look at the factory next to that development in Martinsburg. Has it grown? Has it flourished? I don't think so. It looks pretty barren to me. This is personal for me, and I'm asking you to do whatever you can to stop it. Thank you.
And after Joseph, I have a sheet for Christina Stork, but she just spoke. David Levine.
Good evening. I'm going to read this, even though usually I'm a very extemporaneous speaker, probably because the last week has been, for me, pretty emotional with the Rockwell story and with the sustainability and pollution topic in general. I was at a higher education sustainability conference last week and heard a Rockwell ad on the radio yesterday, and this morning read the executive summary of the United Nations climate change report, which is very, very disturbing. And I thought that pollution and pollution control, the conversation was a done deal, that we know how to do this now, that everybody knows that it's a bad thing, and here we are talking about it in our own neighborhood. So, but I came to thank you for promising to have an independent study done, and we really hope to see that. When we read and heard that you had decided to do this, that is really terrific. That's exactly what we need, something independent. We need to know what's real. We need to know it from a body of experts that we can trust and that you can trust. So we're looking forward to you distributing it in the near future. I look forward to studying it. And my question is, will we sleep better after understanding better the risks and impacts of the Rockwell plant, as we hope to discover in that study? Will we be convinced that the air pollution will not be dispersed in our neighborhoods? Will there be an actual dispersion model, and not one based on data from northern Maryland, like the West Virginia DEP permit shows? Will we be assured that the air pollution will not harm our children, our pets and wildlife, and us? Will the report show actual health risks and not just boilerplate data from the dispassionate DEP and the EPA reports? Will we embrace and be proud of the 21-story smokestacks in our midst with their plumes of polluted steam in the name of progress and economic prosperity? Will we overcome our love of the night sky, now free of light pollution and flashing strobe lights in that polluted stream of steam? Will we be assured that there will never be a leak of water contamination into the caves below us and our karst geology, destroying our well water? Will we be certain that the flammable and hazardous materials within the plant boundaries will not cause an explosion or fire that could spread to our community? Does the report include a risk analysis and recommend the measures necessary to mitigate these risks through personnel, equipment, and training, both within Rockwell and in our local emergency response teams? Will we be able to sleep better after we read the report? Thank you.
After David, we have Gina
It's Biller, but
Biller.
if it's okay, I'd like to give my time to somebody that couldn't sign up, be here on time. Sean Amos.
Okay, so David.
Great. President Skinner, members of the Jefferson County Board of Education, my name's David Levine. My wife and I moved to Jefferson County when our first child was 3 months old. We didn't consider the school system when we moved out here. We were both raised in families who were committed to public schools, and we knew we would send our children to public schools for their education. We figured if there were shortcomings, we would get involved and make sure that we improve the system for everybody, not just our own families. And our experience has really been exceptional. Zoe, Milo, and Daisy. Zoe's a board-certified music therapist practicing in her field. Milo is a strong, kind, and talented man that we're very proud of at WVU. And I was going to read this just so I didn't get emotional. And Daisy is a senior at Jefferson High School. Many of you know of her. She is just one of the brightest, most capable kids anyone will ever meet.
Deep breath, David.
Sorry. So we've had a lot of successes together, high school musicals, math field days, sports. And we've also had a lot of challenges, including the teacher strike and a death at Jefferson High School that really tore the community apart. We were really impressed with the way the Board of Education navigated some of those challenges. And you've always really made sure that our children came first and you protected their interests. I'm not sure there's really an understanding that this is the most significant challenge that you have ever faced, that we have ever faced as a community. I feel that the threat is being minimized and that it's not being adequately addressed. The level of admissions are 100 Halltown paper mills. 100. There'll be dozens of enormous trucks hauling all kinds of materials through our roads. We have a close friend who's paralyzed from hitting a truck when he was a student at Jefferson High School. We are going to destroy the health and safety of our children, our economy, and our environment if we move forward with this project. I hadn't planned to address you all until I read Nick Deal's statement about the air monitoring. And to me, it was just almost comically ghoulish. It was like suggesting in the Cold War that we give kids radiation meters, or in those frightful weeks after 9/11, that we give everybody plastic bags and duct tape to protect themselves from anthrax attacks. I don't have a lot more to say, except I hadn't met any of the people from Jefferson Vision or CCAR until a couple weeks ago. They were just people on Facebook. And I found that they were just like my wife and I were 15, 20 years ago when we first moved here. And the most important thing for us is that our children could come back here and they could raise our grandchildren here and we can stay a tight community. And I'm sorry I got so emotional, but this is really fundamentally important. And I really hope you take the concerns of your constituents very, very seriously. So, thank you.
So Mr. Aim has taken Gina's place,
Yes,
and then we
thank you.
have Anastasia Tab.
We'd like you to change it on the form,
I already did.
Good evening, members. I've come and spoke to you before, and I appreciate you hearing us again tonight. We were all so proud of you a month ago when Ms. Skinner told the people from Rockwell that they had asked 3 times for them to halt production in order to do the safety assessment. And when they said no, Ms. Skinner said, Rockwell is moving ahead, so we need to move ahead. My understanding was that that assessment would be done while construction did not continue. Construction is continuing. And my question now is the value of such a study in light of the fact that the building is soon to be going up. If the study comes back and says that it's going to be dangerous for the students, would it have any bearing whatsoever on Rockwell? I think not. the pilot agreement has an effect on Rockwell immediately. There have been several references made to the study done by the lawyers for Jefferson County Vision. I have copies of this here for each of you tonight, and I'll be handing those out to you in a moment, showing that the pilot agreement is not nearly as binding as you might have been told. I spent 22 years as a teacher. I spent the last 5 years in nursing, and I've been employed in a church for 30 years. The hospital, the church, and the school are the backbone of our community. I don't expect the JCC to stand up for us. I don't expect the JCDA to do the right thing. I know what they're working for. They're working for other people's wallets. But we have a higher calling. And your calling now is to protect our students. Imagine the shock of seeing a Rockwool-sponsored advertisement for Jefferson County High School. The children are listening. Who could have okayed that? You had several people here tonight who sought to gain a kind of legitimacy by signing agreements with the Board of Education. You all saw them here tonight, didn't you? Were any of you afraid that Rockwell was the next one coming up? Yes. That's what was going through my mind. It looks to me like Rockwell's going to be the next one up here. They're already on TV saying that they support the high school. Why are they supporting the high school? A thinly veiled attempt to curry favor with the Board of Education. I ask you, I beg you to pull back from such a thing. The children are listening. Every time you make a statement for them, they know. I've been brought almost to tears when they bring the kids in here to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. You know what the students say about that? They talk about the students and they say, this is Billy. He's an encourager. He tells the truth. He helps his fellow students. This is what the schools now do. The schools, the churches, and the hospitals. We hold you to a higher standard. We beg you to pull out of the pilot agreement. Let them sue the Board of Education. Let them sue the hospitals. Let them sue professional health care people. There is no jury on the face of this earth that would vote for a factory like Rockwell in the face of a Board of Education trying to protect their students. We hold you to a higher standard. Do it tonight.
Mr. Amos, we don't need that. That's actually in our packet tonight that's being presented, our attorneys addressing us later.
Okay,
but thank
super.
you.
I knew it went to the heads of each. I just didn't know if each individual had a copy. My 50-year-old eyes don't read the computer, so there's someone.
Okay.
You did a great job.
After Anastasia, we have Christine Weimer.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak again. This area provides many opportunities to experience the outdoors. The Appalachian Trail, the C&O Canal, Potomac and Shenandoah Rivers, and the Blue Ridge Mountains. In college, I studied biology, and nature has a special place in my heart. We also have many organizations promoting the welfare of our natural resources: the Potomac Valley Audubon Society, the National Conservation Training Center, the American Conservation Film Festival, just to name a few. And I take pride in our local treasures. This 16th year of the film festival, they feature 3 films about the failure of the DEP to live up to its duty of protecting citizens at the benefit of large corporations and industry like mountaintop removal or coal mining. In 2014, Freedom Industries, who washed and removed impurities from coal, contaminated 300 residents' water supplies over 9 counties, as pollution knows no boundaries. Recently, DuPont settled 3,550 claims for $671 million due to chemical poisoning related to Teflon. Who is protecting us? When the EPA asked for proper clarification analysis for Rockwell's air quality permit, the DEP basically responded, "We got this." At this time, many residents are untrusting and dumbfounded at the notion of Rockwell or any heavy industry being here. The JCDA's mission was to attract medium-sized light manufacturing, not a heavy industrial factory, a major source of toxins and particulate matter, located across the street from North Jefferson Elementary. I'm sorry, Mr. Reisenweber, this location is wrong. Why here? Berkeley County is already in a non-attainment status for particulate matter, probably the real reason Rockwell rejected their land. Not the half-truth that we've heard, that it was the other way around, that Berkeley County rejected them due to lack of water. And why they chose our attainment county. Because we don't have polluted air here. Jefferson County is #1 in state health rankings for favorable health outcomes. How long people live and how healthy people feel. We're #1 in West Virginia. We're #1 in tourism. And we're #1 economically. The only competitive county in West Virginia, right here. No one speaks at any meeting in support of Rockwell or that they'll enhance our quality of life, but many will inform you on how detrimental they will be. They've already diminished our happiness. They've done that. Please rescind the pilot, protect our schools, and preserve the prosperity of Jefferson County.
I'm last, so I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm
Oh,
Christine
I'm sorry.
Weimer.
Christine Weimer.
I'm Christine Weimer. No problem. It's okay. So since I do have the luxury of going last, I actually am just going to, before my prepared remarks, just make a few comments on things that other people had said. So the first would be Rockwell said that I went to their open houses, and this is directly from them. They said they use the best available technology in all of their plants worldwide to limit pollution in the community. And so if they're having Rockwell Tufts elsewhere, I must assume that we will have Rockwell Tufts here, or they are lying. That's one. So the other is, a lot of people have commented on the money that was given to the high school, the Jefferson County football team, or the Jefferson High football team. And you may be thinking to yourself, and other people may be thinking to themselves, well, we need money and we should accept money. I'm in the veterinary field. We always need money. And I've worked at many universities in different areas of the country, and they all need money because the NIH is not funding stuff. But before we accept money, we take the time and the due diligence to make sure that we believe in the companies that are giving us money. And I think that should be done here. The second is that I've heard a lot of people from here that have spoken tonight say that they're new here, or that they came here 20 years ago, or when they moved here 30 years ago. And I've heard other people say to me when I've spoken other places, these are the newcomers. The newcomers are upset about this. The people from here, they know that this will be good for our county. It'll bring good working class jobs. Well, the newcomers are a family, and they've been here since the late 1700s. And if you were from here, you'd know that. These people aren't the newcomers. I haven't seen the newcomers at any meetings, because a lot of the meetings aren't wheelchair accessible. Well, that's a different story. I'm not a newcomer. I've been here a long time, and I know that many of you are not newcomers, and you understand what I'm talking about. The last is a lot of people have talked about Nick Deal. Don't be Nick Deal. So I met with Nick Deal when I first became aware of this, which was on the 6th of August, and I met with him soon after that. And he was very nice. I'd love to go to dinner with him, maybe meet his wife. I hear she's a really good lawyer. But he told me in our meeting, well, first, I understand that his job is to protect and promote the industry that we have here, and to bring in new industry that protects and promotes the industry that we have here, and the health and the welfare of the people and the children of this county. That's what I understand his job to be, and to support the JCDA in doing so. In that meeting, upsettingly, he told me that the only thing that he knows about the equine industry in Jefferson County is that when he drives by the racetrack and the lights are on, that probably means they're racing. So he didn't try very hard to learn about the industry that he was supposed to be protecting and promoting. And so I ask you tonight, please don't be Nick Deal. I know you know a lot about kids. That's not what I'm asking you to learn about. You know more about that than I do, and probably more than I ever will. Is that the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I ask you to do the study and to stop the pilot agreement. Thank you.
Madam President, may I have a couple of comments?
Sure.
Before you folks leave, I think it's important for you to know, and I'm not able to give specifics on some of the comments tonight. I would like you to know, though, that we have not been sitting here doing nothing. Unfortunately, what needs to be done and what needs to be looked into is not something you say, hey, let's do this, and all of a sudden it happens. It doesn't work like that. Some of the stuff that especially Dr. Gibson has been working on here has taken weeks, and in some cases months. So I just want you to know that we're not sitting here like a bunch of dummies. We are working on this. We have legal advice and the whole thing. And so please don't jump the gun on us, please. We're working on it. Unfortunately, it just does not go very fast. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
And as Dr. Gibson mentioned earlier, on our website, under the parents section, there's a special Rockwool section. And on there, we've been putting both sides of information. I mean, information we've gotten from Rockwool and also information we've gotten from, I know something from Jay Watson is on there, and other groups have information on there. We're not distinguishing between them. We're just putting everything that we get on there.
Send us more information.
Right. And anything that's submitted to us, we've been adding to it. And the latest is,
that's not our role.
Right. The latest is the information on the study, so please check the website. All right, consent agenda.
There are 2 edits to the consent agenda. Number 1, that individual has rescinded their resignation as of this morning and needs to be removed. And we are also removing the coordinator for staff development position. I was contacted by Mr. Rutherford, who asked to meet and make some additional revisions, and I have an enormous amount of respect for his opinion and his role, and we'll be pulling that and meeting with him to look at those revisions before reintroducing it to the board.
And I'd like to also make a note that I'm recusing myself from the consent agenda because I'm personally listed on there as an approved driver for the schools. So, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I have a discussion.
Can we make a motion first and then we can? Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. Just a question. Last meeting, 2 positions were taken off, the experiential learning coordinator, and both of them were experiential learning coordinator, number 13 and 14 this week. And I just have a question, as those names are the same names every year. Right. I was wondering why they're not listed like with coaches as continuing, why those positions have to be posted every year.
They weren't posted. That was the question. That's why we removed those, because the question came to us of why are you putting those on there continually when they're not posted? And the answer is that those extracurriculars, just like department chairs, just like coaches, not last year but the year before, the law on those changed. Previously, they treated people who had extracurricular contracts who were our employees differently. Those were in continuing contracts. And the people who were like citizens, coaches, or weren't already our employees, we posted theirs every year. And then they changed the law to say you have to do them the same way. You can do it one way or you can do it the other. You can post every single one of those extracurricular, every coach, every department chair, everyone, every single year, or they can all be continuing from year to year, whether they're employee or citizen, and until somebody resigns or is documented out, that's their position to have from year to year. And then we pulled that because we got a question. Someone questioned as to why they weren't posted And that was the response. We researched it and made sure that we were correct in our interpretation.
So will they be posted every year or this
no,
one time?
they're ongoing. We're just
As long as
noticing
it's the same person?
just like the coaches and the department chairs. Yes, ma'am. It's going to be the same person.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unfinished business. Motion to approve the Jefferson County Schools prescription and over-the-counter medication policy.
Okay, Ms. Joyce White, our Director of Transportation, will be presenting on that.
My understanding, this went out for comment during appropriate length of time. When it went out for comment, my understanding is that it went out as you saw it in its first form. I do understand that you wanted some changes to it so that it not only encompassed bus operators, but that it encompassed any employee who would be in a safety-sensitive function driving a county vehicle. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So first, I presented this draft since it pertained to bus operators, two bus operators, August 17th. September 21st, I asked if they wanted to make comments, and then on October 2nd, presented it again, and there are no comments from bus operators as it's currently written according to Mr. Fogel. Since it was published, and it was published in its previous form pertaining to bus operators, I have brought before you this evening another copy that would expand it to include all county drivers. So for me, I'm assuming this would mean that this needs to go back on comment before it's approved, but I'll defer to you. No? No? You can approve. Okay, great. Come on, how it looks then.
Wait. I'm sorry, what are you looking at here? This changed?
This change would encompass not only bus operators, but any employee who would be approved to drive a county vehicle. Maintenance worker,
So it's not just
myself,
courier.
courier, absolutely.
It's not the policy, it's just who it
Mechanics.
applies to.
Mhm.
So then the second section, the applicability section, is where
It was amended.
that's what changed.
That's what changed, and it changed so that it wasn't slanted. It was slanted to safety-sensitive employees rather than just speaking to bus operators.
You're saying you spoke with all of them and...
All my bus operators,
and
that's
no one
correct.
had a-
There were no comments. Their comments pertain to when they needed to report out. Bus operators do have a 20-page medication restriction list. That list is not all-encompassing of every medication made. With new medications being developed, that would be impossible, which is why we work with a board-approved county physician and have physician letters. When in doubt, they check it out with a physician and provide a letter. If there's anything on that medication restriction list from ibuprofen, which with positive side effects, such as I take an ibuprofen, I get sleepy, that's a positive side effect, therefore I don't take it when I'm performing my safety-sensitive function. If you have no positive side effect, for instance, you could take that. There's all kinds of medications on there, and drivers do exempt themselves when they are taking medication that impacts their safety-sensitive function.
Ms. Joyce, would it be possible for you to give us a copy that has the revision in it so that I'm clear on how this is different from what was posted?
Would you like that now on paper?
No, actually, I'd like it for I hope that we can wait on this just so that we're clear on what the revisions are, because I'm not clear on exactly what the revisions are unless you can just point to let me know.
Is this the revised?
This is
the revised.
Right, I don't know. Yeah, let's just do this the right way and post the revised copy if you don't mind. Is this holding this up prevent something that's going on? Okay.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, if you could just do that, then we know that everyone is clear on what the revisions are.
So by posted, explain what you want me to do succinctly.
Okay.
If you could just take what?
Can we,
Okay.
can we make a motion to put it, can we make a motion to put it back out on public review with the changes? Because when you say safety sensitive employees, I'm assuming that that would also entail like an electrician or, I mean, you know, obviously you don't want an impaired person. Is that the intent of the safety sensitive as opposed to any drivers?
Yes, it absolutely could be.
So it's a broader group that it's
It could
going to
be a broader
apply
group,
to.
and I think the discussion might need to be, do you want to include cooks? Like what job classifications do you want to include?
Right,
That
that's-
might make it even more clear.
That's why I think we need a definition of what the
I
safety
think when the
sensitive.
board originally had their discussion, what they had conveyed to Mr. Dingus when he originally brought this was, bus drivers are not the only Jefferson County Schools employees who drive vehicles that belong to Jefferson County Schools in the commission of their duties. And so the board wanted to expand the policy to address not just restricting it to bus drivers. We have a number of employees, a lot of them in our maintenance department, but also in some other capacities, who in the commission of their duties with Jefferson County Schools drive a Jefferson County Schools vehicle. And if at any point we want that, the board, at least in your previous discussion, wanted that a policy to apply to any of them. If you're driving one of our vehicles and you're doing it for us on your job, and I can't imagine there would be a scenario where you'd be driving our vehicle and not doing your job, but that this policy would apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
Intent, yes.
simple intent.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have a motion to put the revised policy out for public comment for another 2 weeks?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, new business.
Good evening. We'll start with A.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have provided attachments for each as we go through these. The first one in A is your special education pre-K 8 for Driswood Elementary School. In this classroom, as our pre-K population grows, we are at 10 IEPs in this room, and due to policy 2419 on page 71, which I have included as an attachment, we are required to add another additional personal aid to this classroom.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any question or discussion?
Did we budget for any of these positions?
Out of total of these 5, actually, as of last year, one of them is stated that it will be filled by an additional a current member.
Right, but I'm talking about the other 4.
Yes, I have met with Beth Marone.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? B.
B. This is a gentleman, we are asking for a year for a one-on-one aid for this child. This child is newly moved into our county as of August, and his IEP already stated that he had a one-on-one aid from the county that he had come from. We took data in the first 4 to 5 weeks to see if it was still needed, so we gave him the support with and without. And at this time, the staff feels that we still need the one-on-one. We'll be starting a exit as of February is their goal, to start weeding him back from the one-on-one.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
C. Again, this is this is a one-on-one personal care aide for a student. He is a pre-K student at Driswood Elementary. We will be filling this with a current staff member. I have uploaded the information on this student.
Second.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Does that change the ratio for A, though? Adding in a
Different class.
Okay. So both at Driswood, but different classroom?
One is a pre-K special needs class, and the pre-K teacher is a special education pre-K teacher. This class is, I believe, Julie Cumbo's room.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? D.
D, this also is for a student in our autism classroom at Driswood Elementary School. This will also be filled with a current staff member, which was not listed. I'm sorry, but the one before wasn't listed. We had a change again of last week. Another student had moved out of the area.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
E, this is for a personal care aide for Charlestown Middle School's MMI room, my apologies. And we are asking for person to be fluent in Spanish. She was given to us, this student was brought to us from Puerto Rico last year. She did not have a personal care aide at that time. Unfortunately, being nonverbal, she plummeted with her verbal skills to us, which is the scenario of your upload. And so we tried, working with the parents actually over the summer and with their neurologist. I was able to find a Spanish-speaking aide, and we were able to take data, and she is actually making eye contact again, and we're hoping again by the end of this year to, again, revisit this. But we would like to continue with the Spanish-speaking aide.
Do we have a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
I have a discussion. I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you already found?
We
an
did.
ad, so will we be posting this position?
We will. We will have to post it.
So are we hoping that the aid that you found is going to apply?
I am.
Okay.
Unless there's another one out there.
Apply, that's right.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Madam Superintendent, I believe we have an executive session regarding the legal work that our attorney has been working furiously on for 3.5 weeks now.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
I make a motion that we go into the executive session.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll take a 2-minute break and then come back.